I remember a lot of shooters, where guns range from simple to downright out there. It was a blast to play them. I especially remember Unreal Tournament. Now that was fun. Today, though, I've got a game that's all about the guns. Throughout the galaxy, a legend is told. On a distant planet, a grim fortress stood, until a deadly force parted the heavens and descended upon the keep. Though brought to ruin, the ashes of that place hold an artifact of impossible power. A gun that can kill the past. Over time, the fortress was rebuilt, and some who hear the legend would risk everything for another shot. To claim their prize and make what was done undone, they must. Hello and welcome, this is Panda from Panbad Gaming, and here we've got a bullet-filled special. Today we'll be reviewing Enter the Gungeon, a game developed by Dodge Roll, released by Devolver Digital in 2016. I have this game on Steam and it costs about $15. So grab your gun, put in a magazine, and pull back the slide for some high-caliber fun in this review. Looking at the plot, it begins as thus. In a galaxy far from ours, there lies an impregnable fortress, brought low by a disaster. However, inside there is a weapon of immeasurable power, a gun that can kill the past. You play as one of the 4 characters, each one with a different past, in hopes of defeating their past and helping them get to a better future. Now, if you're playing this game for the first time, there are guards at the main gate which keep you from advancing into the main section of the game unless you've played the tutorial first, which is actually hosted by this dude called Sir Manual. I found out later that there is actually a little bit of story to Sir Manual, so it might be worth it to explore every nook and cranny. Going to cinematics, the game doesn't actually reveal any plot until, well, the end of the game, and getting to that part is extremely hard due to the difficulty, but more on that later. During the game, there really aren't any cinematics, excepting for those battle cards you see every time you encounter the boss at the end of each level. Because of the developer's decision to not include the plot in the main section of the game, I find it keeps you focused on the actual gameplay itself, keeping you looking at whatever's happening around you instead of focusing on the plot line, which would distract you from otherwise playing the game to its fullest potential. I find this decision by the developers to be a smart one, so I will be giving the plot and cinematics an overall B ranking. With that down and dusted, we set our sights on the graphics, putting one in a chamber and aiming for the kill. Looking at it through the scope, the 2D top-down retro feel is an interesting direction for such a modern game. It gives the game a charm not found in many other modern games, getting back to the roots of actual game making itself. This retro charm is also what expands the game's appeal to a lot of other audiences than just shooter players. The game itself also performs and animates pretty well, there not being any issues with any of the enemies or you colliding with objects in the room. Or with each other. Totally forgot that. The game itself, despite having a 2D retro top-down kind of feel, actually has a lot of interesting effects as I start walking through all of these breakables and spreading books and pages as well as pieces of globes everywhere. Nothing is more satisfying though than walking through a hallway that's entirely filled with breakable stuff. The game also processes lighting dynamically. Rather than being in a fixed point, the light sources actually change, as well as the projectiles also giving off a very slight glow when they're moving across the screen. Hey, everybody likes glowing bullets now, it's the new thing, okay? Overall, I applaud the developer's decision to go with a 2D top-down retro shooter rather than going with the full modern 3D route. It makes the game feel a lot more cartoonish and charming. With that, I'll be giving the graphics an overall B ranking. Now let's shift focus and acquire audio as our target. The music itself within the game is epic, interestingly upbeat, and grand, though the game shifts into serious mode when called for. Here, take a listen for yourself. tell me that doesn't sound awesome. SHADOWFOOT is actually credited as the original artist for the soundtrack, so kudos to him for making something that was presented in the game and made entirely intense. Moving from that on into the sounds, every enemy that appears aside from the initial wave is actually summoned into the room with a crosshair on the floor and a gunshot played when the enemy actually finally appears. I thought this was a nice touch and adds to the overall value of the gun puns in this game. No pun intended. Even though I didn't collect more than one weapon that the playthrough on this review is based on, I actually know that there's sounds for every single weapon, so you know exactly what weapon you get because you're firing it, but the quality isn't high-end. Moving to the ambience, the Gungeon itself is filled with a lot of breakable items, so you can also hear the fireplaces roar if they're lit, and you happen to wander near them. While the music is an epic addition to the game, the audio quality for the weapons themselves makes it fall a little flat, though the ambience does kind of fill in that gap. It's not exactly the best ambience in the world, so I'll be giving the overall audio category a C ranking. And now we set our sights on the heart of the gameplay itself. And as we move on into this boss battle, we can take a look at the level design, which is pretty scenic and actually looks kind of good despite the fact that it's all pixel art and 2D. I can only imagine the amount of time that the graphics designers spent piecing all of this together. Going into controls, it plays best with a mouse and keyboard, though you can play it with a controller. However, I do not recommend it as the game requires you to aim and move at the same time. And yes, I died. That happens. This game is extremely difficult, but fun to play. Getting into that difficulty spot, the logic behind some of the enemies is actually pretty smart, dodging behind obstacles while trying to keep you on the other side of them so that way they don't take damage while you're firing. Going into upgrades and customizations, there are a lot of unlockables to be seen, from unlockable guns to armors and other items which can help or hinder you in the fight to get the ultimate gun that can kill the past and forge the ultimate bullet. Setting our sights on the multiplayer and competitive aspect of the game, well, there's not really a competitive aspect, but there's definitely multiplayer with a 2-player co-op, and that features a new character, though he's only seen when co-op is available on the machine that you're playing on. When you die in this game, it plays a nice little animation of your past coming back to haunt you. Therefore, when you open the Ammonomicon, as the game calls it, it's pretty much a recap of what happened before you died. Looking back now, there is a DLC which unlocks all of the guns in the game, and it's a microtransaction to get it, and do you really want to pay for that? I mean, the game itself is pretty fun, all in all, so I don't think it's really needed. Overall, I found the gameplay quite enjoyable. The gameplay itself being quite cartoonish and fun for everybody, since there's not really any sort of blood or gore to be seen. Though there are guns. Lots and lots and lots of guns. So overall, I will be giving the gameplay a B ranking. Overall, my final take on this game is that if you're looking for something that's fun, cartoony, and test your skills at the same time, I highly recommend you pick up this game. Enter the Gungeon earns an overall B rank in my book. And that wraps it up for another game review on Pan Gaming. Be sure to annihilate that like button, and if you hate us or love us, then comment and subscribe. Also, please visit our webpage at SHADOWFOOT.net. If you enjoy seeing our content and would like to see us grow, please come down and visit us at our Patreon. Once again, this has been Panda from Pan Gaming, and we'll see you on the next one.